What's up, Semen retention? Men being miserably lonely will have a terrible time trying to make true connections with people. I've experienced this myself, man. Whenever you chronically isolate yourself with bad habits, that is going to make a thing where you start to have a bad connection with who you are as a person. So you start to lose who you are and get further and further away from who you are. And when it does that, when you go out and try to speak to people and you try to build connections with people, it's like you lose your connection with your the social part of yourself. You get what I'm saying? Because it's deeper than just bad habits, you know? It's an energy thing behind it. And so that's what a lot of people don't understand. A lot of times friends and socially connecting with people, it's energy behind all of that, right? It's not just you being around somebody. It's energy. And when you start to isolate yourself and be miserably miserably lonely, like and the way that I see somebody being miserably lonely is like they're lonely but they don't want to be alone and they don't want to take care of themselves while they're alone. You know what I'm saying? So they're just kind of sitting by themselves and like rotting, like they're sitting and rotting, you know? And so when they get around people, I feel like they lost that ability to do that because they get to a place where they don't care about it, and your ability to show your personality and be yourself around people is no longer there. So you can't really build connect because I know this from firsthand experience. You can't really build true connections with people from a relationship, something romantic, right? All the way to a regular friendship when you can't be yourself. And it's not nobody holding me back from being myself. It was always from the stuff I did behind closed doors. It was how I thought about myself. It was how I felt about myself. And you constantly reflect that on the people whenever, you get around them, and then that's how when you get around people they can pick up on, like, if you got weird energy. And when you restrict yourself, that's the thing. That's the outward appearance of it. Whenever you can't really make a connection with somebody because you restrict yourself so much, right? And that's the problem I had. I would be super lonely, and whenever, because I remember in high school and in just a lot of different situations where sometimes it would be, people would want to be friends with me and talk to me in high school, and I used to like just like shut them down because and it wasn't all through high school. It was particularly my senior year because that was when I feel like my addiction was the worst. You know, or no, it wasn't the worst, but it was like I was around more people, so I was aware of how bad it was. You know what I'm saying? How bad it was making me act. And so, yeah, man, there would be situations like that where people would try to make friends with me or talk with me or be cool with me, and I kind of would like avoid it sometimes because I couldn't be. I felt something inside me where I couldn't show or express my full personality, and it was out of fear, guilt, feeling ashamed of myself. It was all out of those things, and it was all because of me watching the websites, not taking control of my sexual energy, and letting that part of myself out of control. And so as the years went on and stuff, I was just continuing to battle with that. But that's why I feel like I've had limited dating experience. The friends I had before I got the addiction to, all these websites, and maybe back then I didn't have the bestest of friends or whatever, but I was definitely more social back then, and I lost my ability to just be able to talk and laugh and be myself around people, you know, and it's not being lonely what's gonna do that specifically, but it's when you're lonely and you're not taking care of yourself, right? If I was taking care of myself and I was being by myself, I would have been all right in front of people, right? I would have still been able to be myself, because being yourself comes from a place within, not from an external thing, right? It comes from how you feel about yourself. And if you are lonely, you got time to look at how you feel about yourself and work on that. That's where you're going to make the most progress with building your confidence and your self-esteem, because it's internal, it's not external. And so, but the opposite of that, you can be alone and make yourself feel worse about yourself, and worse and worse and worse. And when you get around people, it reflects that. You get what I'm saying? So it's a thing where you got to be able to use it right. You got to use your time, and when you're by yourself, you got to use that the right way. You know. And so that would be somebody I would categorize into being like miserably lonely, because they're riding. You get what I'm saying? They're by themselves and they're riding. But but when you're taking care of yourself and you got that strong mind and you don't seem retention, you can be by yourself and growing and getting more confident and getting stronger and faster, and you know what I'm saying, becoming more attractive and being able to be more confident around girls. Because at the end of the day, it comes from what's in here. You get what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to make it sound sentimental, but I'm being dead serious. Like, it's not an external thing. It's something you got to work on internally. And a lot of times when you don't take care of yourself, you're going to start hurting the internal part of yourself. And so that's what we have to look at, bro. And a lot of these guys who they don't take care of themselves and they're miserably lonely, they have extremely hard times socializing, building connections with people, dating, having good friendships. You know what I'm saying? Because I always say, oh yeah, dating, it's gonna hurt you, especially when it comes to dating, but it's gonna hurt you especially when it comes to your friends. If you're a dude that hang around a lot of dudes, it's gonna hurt you in those type of relationships as well. Something that I used to think that it was like, oh, it's just gonna hurt you know, my my time around girls and stuff, but really it's gonna hurt your time around everybody you're around. No matter if it's from a stranger, all the way to a friend, all the way to a girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? All the way from your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your cousins. It's gonna hurt your relationships with human beings in general. And I know this firsthand, you know, and so that's why we gotta get away from doing all that, man. We gotta get away from it. And it's just something that's gonna destroy your relationships with people. And being lonely is something that's gonna amplify it if you already not taking care of yourself. You know, it's gonna amplify it to an even bigger level. So yeah, man. That's all I got to say. He's out.